And the title of the message this morning is Joseph, a cameo of character. A cameo of character. Now, how many of you know what a cameo is? You know what this word cameo means? Okay, not many of us. Now, when I was younger, my grandma, she collected these large necklaces. And I remember as a wee little lad, right? Like I'll go to my grandma and be like, what is that on your neck? And she's like, oh, it's a cameo. And I'm like, what is a cameo? And what it was is like an old version of a locket. Now, does anybody have a locket in here? And I mean, it's not even a thing anymore, but okay, they're pretty rad. Okay, somebody has a locket. Lockets are pretty cool. It's that, I guess we got our phones now, so our screensaver on our phone, our wallpaper is often our version of a locket. But a locket was this little tiny, just necklace or a pendant that you would wear, and on the inside, it would have a little picture. It would have an image of someone that meant something to you, someone that was important to you. And so an old version of that would be a painting, right? So it would be a painting of an image that they would wear or they would hold or set aside in the house. It would be a cameo or a casket or a little tiny locket, your wallpaper. Well, today we're going to take a snapshot, as it were, of the life of Joseph. So this is a short picture, just a still image of different moments going on in Joseph's life. So it is Joseph that I've summarized his life as a man of character. Today it's all about being a man or a woman of character. Now, before I get into what it means to have character, I think I want to illustrate this for you. One of the hardest questions in life is whether you're investing your money, your trust, or your responsibility, or giving responsibility to a solid or a risky investment. Like, think about it. All the things that you have to give and the money you've got to give or to invest, retirement, our question we often ask is this a solid investment or is this kind of risky? Am I putting it on the line here? Now, nothing better explains investing than stock market trading. Do I have any day traders out there? Okay, for a while there, I tried doing stock market trades, and I learned a lot about how to lose your money fast in the stock market. I learned some things about the stock market. You don't judge a stock by one good day, where you hear the bell ring, okay, early in the morning, and you jump in and you watch the stock start to soar or to decline. You don't judge a stock by what it does in one moment or just in a day or in an hour. No one buys because of a strong hour or a flashy headline. If you're serious, this is what you do when you get into stocks. You pick one you like. Most time it's random, or you've done a little bit of research on it. And what you do is you look at the stock, and then you look at the day. You go out to the week, you go out to the month, and you can zoom all the way out to see how the stock has performed, not only just during the week, but during the year even. I can see what it's done all 2025, or go out further, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. You can check the history of a stock. Now, the question we ask is this: how does it perform under pressure? What happens during inflation or during the recession? Does it spike with hype or does it crash with fear? And if it, passes our test, then we decide to put a little bit of money into it and see how our money will go. Now, if it's a healthy stock, it's going to rise and it's going to hold steady. Now, we've all seen this at times on social media, in the news, when there is a hype stock. Do you know what that means, a hype stock? Let me recall your memory. Remember back when COVID started and the movie theaters started to decline because nobody's going to the movies anymore? Well, there was a stock called AMC, the AMC movie theaters. And what ended up happening was the craziest thing in the stock market. It started to surge unlike ever before, not because the fundamentals of the stock had changed, not because it was a worthwhile investment, but because there was hype around it. People were trying to stick it to the man, okay, with the stock market by making the AMC stock rise. And so TikTok was talking about it. Celebrities were tweeting about it. There was a viral momentum that started to pick up with AMC. And so people started to jump on the train. They're like, yeah, I'm making money on AMC. But something crazy happened, right? All the money went in and all the money went out. It was a gigantic spike. Some people won, but a lot of people lost their money. The same thing was with Dogecoin. Do you remember that? Yeah, it was like a dog that was meant to be a joke. They turned it into a cryptocurrency coin, and it was meant to be just something silly, but guess what? Tweets sent it soaring, And all of a sudden, people started to invest their money in this dog meme coin. And sadly, okay, as fast as it came is as fast as it went. And man, it crashed hard. No matter if you had diamond hands or not, that's an inside trader joke right there. These things disappeared as fast as they went. And this goes with so many different trends in the stock market. There's NFTs, there's other cryptocurrency coins. They pump fast and they crash faster. No history, there's no resilience. It's just a spike and a fall. Now, why does this matter? Here's the reason why. Excitement can inflate value, but it will not sustain value. The problem was not that these things rose real fast, it's that they had no history. The problem is that they had no track record, no evidence under pressure. People invested momentum, not trustworthiness. Now, let me go to another stock. Okay, so now we've got long-term stocks that don't have large spikes, but they stay consistent year over year over year. Where my grandfather, invested, however many years ago, and our whole family's invested in this slow trending stock. It doesn't change. It just stays steady. It doesn't spike overnight. It grows slowly, quietly, consistency. No excitement, but dependability. Anything can spike, but very few things can stay steady. Very few things in life I have found that stay steady, faithful, consistent, trustworthy. You know you're going to go to bed and it's going to be there tomorrow morning. There are very few things in life that are that trustworthy. What I want to talk to you today about is character. Character. And when we talk about people, we're often impressed with people for the wrong reasons, I have found. Yeah, there's a lot of people that you get impressed with them for the moment. You'll see them on social media and they're really well spoken. They've got charisma. They've got a sense of pizzazz to them. Maybe it's their looks or their speech, but we get quickly impressed with individuals. We're moved by emotion. We're swayed by excitement. But character, real character, it's not revealed in a spike. It's not just a flash in the pan. It's revealed over time. It's under pressure across seasons through constant responses that real character will last when nothing else will. You see, character is the long-term performance of life. Even today, I bet you, if you think for a moment about the individuals in your life that you would say they have character, I bet you it's very few and far between that you would say those individuals, that man, he's a man of character. That woman, oh, she's a woman of character. Why? Because hype fades, but character holds. Popularity is not the same thing as trustworthiness. Trust isn't built in moments. It's proven over years. And character doesn't rise and fall with circumstances. It outlasts what's ever going on. So let me define it for you. What is character? What is character? It's kind of an old word. We don't talk about it very often anymore. I think I used to hear it. My grandfather used to say it. That's a man of character right there. He's got the handshake of a man. He's a good man. He's got character. It's like, okay, what does that even mean? I don't know, okay? But he's a man of character. Don't get it confused. There's a difference between having character and being a character, right? When we say someone's a character, that's a character over there. He's a character. It means personality or winsomeness or, something's off. I don't know what's happening, but it's a character. There's a difference of being a character and having depth and weight and trustworthiness. Webster's dictionary defines character as this. It's the set of qualities that distinguish a person, especially moral or ethical qualities such as honesty, courage, integrity, and uprightness. Now, the ancient word for character, was this Greek word that literally meant a distinctive mark. Something that set apart an item from everything else that was in its same type or species. It had character, something that was different. Now, we use this often. You walk into an old house because they don't build things like they used to anymore, right? So now we've got cookie cutter houses that everybody's built the same. But the old houses that were built in the 1900s, they had character. You walk in and it's built by hand. Those are real 2x4s. Those aren't Home Depot 2x4s. Those are the real thing. We see character with the engravings and the moldings. We see what it took to put up these old houses and these old buildings. They've got character. I think about a trail worn in the ground. a place that has been well worn through the years. It's got character. An old tree that has a lot of girth. It's got formations on the bark. We look at it, we know it's survived the storms. That tree has got character. An old scar. And my boys love to look at the scars on my body. They'll pull up my sleeves and be like, Dad, what is this scar from? Man, I was skateboarding, and let me tell you, and all over my body I've got scars of character, right? Like it's the little marks that are there. I think about calloused hands. A man that's worked hard his whole life and his hands prove it. The other day there was a man that came in, and he's one of our friends that lives on the street, and his hands were all covered in paint. And he's like, how do I take the paint off? How do I take the paint off? I said, man, don't take the paint off. Don't take the paint off. I said, you know why? Those hands are working hands, bro. Be proud of those painted hands, like that's a hard working man's hands. Like, don't take the paint off that. It's worth it. Let somebody see it. An old glove that's been broken in. Your old favorite jacket that you've worn for years, the PJs that you still wore even though they got holes everywhere, okay? That's character, right? This thing's got some character. It's a well-used Bible, which is so rare today. A Bible that you see it and it's falling apart. It's been highlighted and underlined. And that Bible has character because it's been used. It's been marked. It's been underlined. They say that a Bible falling apart often belongs to someone who isn't. And I think today I wish I saw more marked Bibles. But we typically notice character in other things, but we don't notice it in people. Let me tell you about what character is in a life. Character is when you're wronged, you don't retaliate. Character is when you have power, and you can embarrass somebody publicly, but you choose to give mercy instead. Someone has been provoked, their buttons have been pushed and pressed, but they don't explode. It's criticized publicly, but their name questioned, but they don't fire back on social media to defend themselves. Someone's overlooked your job. You've been working and the boss has not noticed, and someone else gets the credit. But you keep showing up, you keep serving, you keep doing the right thing without recognition. Someone's tempted, the shortcut is easy. Compromise is hidden, but they choose integrity. Someone's offended, they could hold on to it, but instead they let it go. They forgive. Someone's pressed for time. They're late and they're stressed. Their schedule is catching up with them, but they're still patient with people. You're wrong, but you own it without excuses or blame shift. Character. Character. Anyone can look at a godly life when it's easy and say that's a good life. But a life of character is one that shows up when it's hard. Today, what I want to show you is a life of character. Something that stands throughout history. A life that has made an impact that we still talk about today. You see, character is proven. It's not just claimed. I'll give you a verse. It's Romans chapter 5. It says, suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. Character, it's tested, proven, refined by pressure, and that's what we get when we come to the earthly Father of Jesus Christ. When we come to the man that God in His sovereignty picked to be the earthly dad for Jesus, I think Joseph stands out as a man of character. When God entrusted the infancy and the early life of Jesus Christ to a man, He didn't choose someone with hype. He chose someone with history. Not someone who spiked and crashed, someone who stayed steady. A man of character. Joseph, he appears briefly. He's tested repeatedly. He responds consistently, remains steady, and disappears quietly. Joseph the man. Matthew chapter 1, verse 18 through 25, it tells us all about the man Joseph. Let me show it to you. It says, now the birth of Jesus, starting at verse 18, took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. And her husband, Joseph, being a just man, I like that, and unwilling to put her to shame, resolved to divorce her quietly. But as he considered these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as your wife, for that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son. You shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. Now, all this took place to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they will call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Joseph woke from his sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took his wife, but knew her not until she had given birth to a son, and he called his name Jesus. Man, we don't talk about him very often. If he goes missing from the nativity scene, nobody will throw a fit. But let me tell you, Joseph, we need him in our story, and God picked him on purpose. Today, 3 snapshots of the life of Joseph. Why I think he's got so much character. Snapshot number 1, if you're taking notes, Joseph showed character when he was wronged. Joseph showed character when he was wronged. Listen, when you are wronged, that moment becomes the clearest window into your character. When you get wronged, it's coming. When they wrong you, that moment is a window, the clearest picture we have of just how much character you really actually have. Do you just talk the talk, or do you really walk the walk? Is it authentic, or is it only skin deep? You see, trees with the deepest roots survive the harshest storms. It's only trees with shallow roots that get scared. But Joseph, he's got some deep roots. He's a real man of character. Look what it says. It says in verse 18 and 19, the birth of Jesus took place in this way when his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph. Before they came together, she was found to be with child. Now, we've read the story so many times, we're not even bothered by it anymore. But let's bring it back to reality, all right? So here we got Joe, and we've got Mary. Okay, beautiful little couple. Okay, the whole town is like, oh, you see Joe and Mary, they're going to get married soon. And he's prepping everything, building the house. And oh, they got engaged or betrothed. And so it is set up. It is, man, match made in heaven. We're so excited to see what's going to happen with this little life. And so everybody knows about Joe and Mary. Things are great. No problems at all. But then something happens. Homegirl shows up pregnant, right? It's like, And Joe hears about it, of course. Joseph gets full word of what's going on. Joseph finds himself in one of the most devastating personal crises imaginable. That the person he loved the most, was fully engaged to, faithful to, had come up pregnant. Now, we can't blame Joseph because this is the first and the only time, that someone got pregnant without, And so Joseph was thinking the right things here. Okay, we can't get mad at the guy. He had been wronged, or so he thought. I don't know what that first conversation was like. I don't know how she explained it. Well, the angel told me, and this is it, and I saw this vision, and he's sitting there like, sure, okay. Like, we know that he didn't buy the story because he was set to divorce her quietly. Okay, he wasn't buying it. He's like, nice story. Okay, the pieces aren't lining up. And he'd done his little research, and he's like, there's no way, okay? Let me tell you biology, girl. Like, this doesn't work this way. And so he wasn't buying it. He had felt wronged, no doubt. Wronged so deeply that he wanted to separate from her. He was willing to call it quits. I don't want to stay with you. I don't want to life with you anymore. But I'm not going to make a public spectacle of it. But you're going to go your way and I'm going to go my way. Joseph felt wronged. The woman he loves, the one he pledged to, appears to betray him in the most public and shameful way possible. Now, in first century Jewish culture, betrothal was binding as marriage. Okay, this wasn't just a broken engagement. It was perceived as infidelity that carried social, legal, and spiritual consequences. Matter of fact, what Joseph could have done was so much more. Actually, he had power over her in this moment. Under the law, he could have publicly exposed her. He could have ruined her reputation, permanently destroyed her future, presented his case to the Sanhedrin for a possible public stoning to death because his wife, soon to be, was unfaithful. But notice that the text says that Joseph was a just man. He's a just man. He's a good man. Now, this isn't describing his legal standing, but his moral character. He was wronged by someone he trusted, but instead of retaliation, he extended mercy. The scripture tells us he resolved to divorce her quietly. Here are 3 things that character does when it's wronged. 3 things that character will do when it's wrong. If you have character and you're wronged, you do these 3 things. Number 1, you consider grace over justice. When you're wronged, you lean more towards grace than you do getting your pound of flesh. That I'm gonna take you to court, girl. You're going to run my name through the mud like this? Come on, Mary. Don't you know what I've done for you? What I've been prepping for you, right? He could have easily done that. But he leaned more towards grace than justice. When we're wronged, our first instinct is justice. We want what's fair, what's deserved. But Joseph's initial response was different. His character asked, what does God want versus what I deserve? True character elevates grace above entitlement, recognizing that God's justice often operates on a different plane than human fairness. So when I have character, I say, Lord, I'm going to trust you. I want to extend grace like you've extended grace to me, instead of try to get an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. The second thing that I see that character does is that it seeks God's perspective before acting. Joseph thought on these things. Do you see that there in the text? He thought on these things. He pondered these things. He didn't act impulsively. When wrong, character pauses to seek divine perspective rather than human outrage. The space between offense and response is where character is either built or broken. How do I respond? Joseph's contemplation created room for God's intervention. He pauses. He takes a moment to himself. Like, I got to go on a walk real quick and just think about all this. All right, Mary? The third thing is that character will protect others even when hurt. Real character, okay, will protect others even when hurt. Notice what Joseph does. He still protects her. He still has her back to a degree because he wants to do it privately. Even his initial plan of divorce, well, he was protecting her from public shame. When we're wrong, character considers how our actions affect others, even when someone has wronged us. True strength isn't making others pay for the wrong that they've done to you. I'm going to make you pay. Revenge, right? And there's a phrase that goes with that. I'm going to get my revenge. It's like, no, that's not character. That's not character. That seems a little more demonic to me. It's in protecting dignity when even we feel destroyed. You know, I think about Corrie ten Boom. I've shared her story before. She was a woman that was alive during the Nazi time, and she was, a family that really felt the responsibility to hide some of the Jewish people in her house so that they wouldn't get taken to the concentration camps. Well, their little secret plan, got exposed, and so she ended up in a concentration camp, her and her family. They all died, including her sister that was with her. But Corrie ten Boom makes it out alive. Years later, when she was out speaking about what God had done in the concentration camps, she had come across the very guard that gave her the harshest treatment in one of the concentration camps. And he was there. He had actually accepted Christ, and things had changed in his life, and he showed up to where she was at. He walked over to her and extended his hand and say, he called her, Corrie ten Boom, but there was a name that he called her, and he extended his hand. And Corrie, she talks about how I stood there with coldness clutching my heart. Jesus, I cannot forgive him. Give me your forgiveness. And then I reached out my hand and I grabbed his. She says, the most incredible thing happened. From my shoulder, along my arm, and through my hand, a current seemed to pass from me to him, while into my heart sprang a love for this stranger that had almost overwhelmed me. Corrie, with character, did not want to return, what was given to her, but with the love of God, she extended love and compassion and forgiveness. Corrie ten Boom demonstrated character when wronged, not because it was easy, but because she chose God's supernatural grace over human retaliation. Like Joseph, She had to seek divine perspective. Here's my application for you this morning. When you've been wronged, and you will be wronged, that's not a crisis moment. That is a character moment. When you get wronged, that is a character opportunity. So in our cancel culture, in our political climate, in our social media world where we put people on blast and we ruin businesses, God's kingdom operates different. When your coworker takes credit for your work, when your friend betrays your confidence, when your spouse breaks your trust, when your family member wounds you deeply, that's your moment. That becomes your moment. How will you respond? Do you have character? That's when character gets its cameo. Like Joseph, you have a choice. You react with human justice or respond with divine grace. Listen, the test of your character isn't when everything's going right. It's when everything's gone wrong. That reveals who you really are. So here's what you should do. Take time to pray before you post. Or write that email. Some of you get that email and you're like, like you send out that text message and it's fiery and it's full of venom. And before you hit send on that bad boy, like maybe you should, just pause on it and take a break. Send it to a friend, like, hey, read this over. Choosing private restoration over public exposure. Extending grace that feels unnatural. Trusting God's justice over your vengeance. Do you have character? The second snapshot that I see is this. Joseph showed character in his quick obedience. Verse 24 and 25. When Joseph woke up from sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him, and he took his wife. But he knew her not until she had given birth to a son, and he called his name Jesus. Okay, so much can change in a moment. That's what they say. It just takes a brief second for someone to change. I know we think, no, they'll never change. There's no way. They're set like you can't teach old dog new tricks, right? We've got the phrases on people don't change. Joseph had his mind made up. But God. God shows up in this angelic dream. Here's the angel, and he's like, hey, Joe, what's going on, man? I know this looks crazy. I know it's going to blow your mind, Joseph, but this is of God. The angel communicates the truth, and Joseph in a dream has a change of mind and a change of heart. What I love about Joseph is that he falls asleep one way, and he wakes up another way. Man, dreams can really change you, okay? They can. And Joseph had one of those dreams. He wakes up and it says, look at the text, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. Man, I wish we were all that responsive to God. That when God told you to do something, that you immediately got up and you did it. This is a clear pattern in Joseph's life. This is why he's a man of character, because he's got quick obedience. Very fast, he responds to God. He's like, God, you say jump, I'll jump. And before even the word jump comes out, he's jumping. You know what I mean? Like Joseph is tiptoe ready to respond to God. God speaks, Joseph moves. 2 other times in Joseph's story, God tells him the same thing, right? Another dream. He tells him, go down to Egypt because the life of the child is at risk. And so if you remember the story, the nativity story, Joseph takes baby Jesus and Mary, and they go on an RV trip down to Egypt, right? And so they're now this, Instagram family. Here they are. They go down sightseeing. They're in Egypt. They stay down in Egypt. Then all of a sudden, Joseph gets another dream. When Herod dies, and the dream says, now you can go back. And so they travel on back. All of those times, it's the same phrase for Joseph. It says, being raised from sleep, when he arose, he did as the angel commanded. 3 times, it's all we get of him. 3 times he's commanded, 3 times he obeys. There's no delay, no debate, no conditions. Every command and follow through with obedience cost Joseph something. He took Mary, and it cost him his reputation. He fled to Egypt. It cost him stability. He returned to Israel, and it cost him comfort and certainty. This wasn't just like a honeymoon baby, complication, like things happened. This was a big ordeal. Joseph embraced the pain here. Like he went all in to do what God told him to do. And so the marriage began with confusion and complexity. It's a lifelong misunderstanding. I'm sure he had more questions along the way. I'm sure Joseph had thoughts, but Joseph was a man of character. Joseph obeyed God. What this reveals about his character is that he valued God's word over public opinion. Do you care about God's word over public opinion? You should. You should. He obeyed without fully demanding all clarity. He trusted God with the outcome. Here are 3 things that I think of about character. Character obeys before understanding, number 1. When you've got real character, you will obey God without fully understanding. I covered that last week with Mary. Don't you remember? That Mary said, yes, Lord, whatever you say, I'll do, right? Let it be according to your word. And so Mary had the same response. I think that's maybe why God picked this couple, because both Mary and Joseph were ready to obey. They both had the same heart. This is called equally yoked. That we have got Mary and Joseph both being fully submitted and surrendered to God. And so, Lord, whatever you want, that's what we'll do. And look what God did through them. Oh, the Lord can work through you if you would just simply be available to Him. I also think this character obeys when it's costly. You know, it'll cost you something to obey God. It'll cost you comfort, your control, your conveniences, but it's always worth it. Obedience isn't free, but it is faithful. Following God may cost you your reputation. Following God may cost you your plans or your security, but disobedience will always cost you far more. If Joseph wouldn't have done what the angel told him to do, only just think what would have happened. Now, no doubt God would have raised up another way. You know, that's what Mordecai told Esther. He said, maybe for such a time as this, you are here, Esther. He said, but if you don't, God will raise up somebody else. And so no doubt God would have raised up somebody else, but I'm thankful that Joseph said yes. Character obeys one step at a time. Joseph didn't see the whole journey, only the next command. Take Mary. He took her. Go to Egypt. He goes to Egypt. Go back to Israel. He goes back to Israel. That's all he got. That's amazing. The instructions were short, but he was quick. I'm going to do what God tells me to do. God rarely shows up with the full map, but He always reveals the next step. Character responds quickly to what God has made clear. So application for your life. Here it is. Quick obedience is where character meets destiny. You will find your future coming to fruition as you obey today. Today, what is God calling you to do today? What has He put on your heart? What has He made clear already that you're supposed to be doing? Do it. Quick obedience. Get on it yesterday. The Lord wants to move in your life, but obedience is required. Okay, so some of us are waiting to forgive. You've been told to forgive. Forgive already. Forgive them. Some of you are waiting to serve. Get your butt in action. Come on. Serve the Lord. What are you waiting for? Some of you are waiting to give in some way. Stop it. Some of you are waiting until it feels safer. It won't feel safer. Obedience. Obedience. Listen, that's not discernment, that's delayed obedience. Character says yes before knowing how, step before seeing the whole staircase, trust over comfort, and you move when God says move. So Joseph's obedience protected the Savior of the world. Your obedience might protect your marriage. Your obedience might open the heart for the gospel to be preached. Your obedience might change a life forever. Would you be obedient today? Here's my question for you before our last point. What has God already told you to do that you're still waiting to start? We're coming up on the new year. Everybody does New Year's resolutions. What is the Lord putting on your heart to do? Thirdly, lastly, as we ended out this morning, Joseph showed character through lifelong steadfastness. Joseph showed his character, not just in a moment, but his entire life. Now, crazy enough, we don't know much about Joseph. We know he was a carpenter, but that word carpenter doesn't mean like carpentry with wood. It actually means a builder, okay? It's someone that worked with their hands. They were known for structures and engineering. And so Joseph was this engineer. this builder, this designer, this inventor. Matter of fact, Jesus was called, aren't you, just the son of the carpenter? That's what he was known as. Jesus was recognized by Joseph's trade, by his reputation. But we don't know much about him, but we do know something important. In Luke chapter 2, we find out that there is a tradition that Joseph kept that brought great formation to his family. I'll read it to you. It says, "Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old," this is Jesus, "they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast." So Joseph is there. He gets the word. He marries Mary, goes off to Egypt. Baby Jesus starts to grow. They come back to Nazareth. They live there. Now Joseph continues to do what? Pour into his family. Joseph continues to lead them spiritually. We find out that yearly, up until Jesus was 12 years old, there was a custom that Mary and Joseph would do. They go up to Jerusalem during the feast, during the Passover, so they could stay back where it's comfortable. Like, oh, no, we're not going to go to church this week. You know, it's cold and rainy, and we're not going to go, and let's just go on Christmas, you know. But no. Like, Joseph's like, get in the van. We're going to go, right? Like, get all the kids in there. Jesus, get front seat, right? And so he makes everybody get in, and everybody goes, and he prioritizes God. We're going to go. We're going to do what's right as a family. Joseph had lifelong steadfastness of following God. These passages reveal Joseph's character over the long haul. Notice the consistency. They went up every year. This wasn't a one-time spiritual high. It's a lifelong rhythm of faithfulness. And when Jesus was 12, he was still leading. Joseph was still involved. Now there's this concept I want you to get, that when Joseph finds Jesus in the temple, he doesn't scold him, blame him. He doesn't react in anger. But he continues his role as spiritual leader, bringing Jesus home where it says he was subject unto them. When I think about steadfastness, here are three things as we end. What does character look like in steadfastness? Now, this is where I think your marriage and your life can be changed, okay? This final one. Character shows up consistently, not just dramatically. It's not just in the big drama moments that character is formed, but it's in the day in, the day out, the quiet moments that nobody knows about. Joseph's story had some dramatic moments. I don't know how many of you have had a visit from, an angel lately. Probably not many of you. I know I haven't, ever. So that would be kind of like a highlight from my life. Yeah, I got visited by an angel 3 times, pretty epic. So he's had some big moments, okay? Don't get me wrong. Like Joseph has some stuff to write about. But there are other moments in Joseph's life that were not that dramatic. Most of his life was ordinary. Faithfully going to Jerusalem every year, faithfully working as a carpenter, faithfully raising his family. Character and steadfastness understands that greatness in God's kingdom is often built on the foundation of boring consistency. Boring consistency. Many of you are chasing the next spiritual high. You're trying to find the next pizzazz spiritually. I want to go to that church because the worship is really good. Or I want to have this experience. I want to, and so you're chasing all of these little these moments where you're trying to experience, the supernatural. I want the angelic visitation. And I want this over here. It's like, those are so rare in life. You build your life on the rare moments, seeking out those things while ignoring the boring, the everyday. The slow trend up as a stock. It's in the day in and the day out that your life is actually formed before God. Like your butt in the Bible, in the book, daily, quiet before God is where your heart finds peace and rest and hope. It's not just, hearing things one time. It's like, no. You know God, and He knows you, and He settles something inside of you daily, quietly. Jesus says you go into the secret place and you meet your Father, and He shows up there. He meets you in those places. That's the consistent, steadfast, quiet that nobody knows about. That never makes the news. Nobody talks about those things, but that's where character is formed. Character maintains spiritual leadership through every season. Joseph led his family spiritually when Jesus was a baby, when he was 12, and then beyond. He didn't take seasons off from spiritual responsibility. Character and steadfastness means that you still lead others toward God when you're tired, when it's not exciting, when you don't feel like it, and when no one's watching. Even my wife yesterday exhorted me as a man to say, hey, I know when you come home you're tired, and you've been ministering to people, but I still need ministering to as well. And I'm like, you're right. Sometimes I get so busy pouring into all of you, I forget my family. And she was right. And I didn't have a rebuttal. I just said, yeah, you're right. Spiritual leadership through every season, that you're constant, consistent. Character builds legacy through faithful presence. The last mention of Joseph in Scripture was that he was called the carpenter's son. That's what Jesus was called. His greatest legacy wasn't what he did, but who he was consistently. He provided a stable, loving, godly environment that shaped Jesus. Character and steadfastness, recognizing that sometimes your most important ministry is just being there. Just being present, faithfully, consistently, lovingly. And that's it. I close with this thought. I love biographies and autobiographies, and I finished one not too long ago from Jonathan and Rosalind Goforth. They were missionaries in China. This was in the early 1900s. They were Canadian Presbyterian missionaries. So they go to China, 46 years of hardship, difficulty in reaching the Chinese. Okay, during the 1900s, there was something called the Boxer Rebellion. And they barely escaped with their lives. Rosalind, his wife, was attacked by a mob and left for dead. Jonathan carried her miles and miles and miles until he finally found someone that could help her. They lost everything, their home, their possessions, their ministry. Everything disappeared. Most missionaries fled China and never returned. But the Goforths, they stayed. They returned. They rebuilt. And then they rebuilt again after subsequent crises. They continued ministering through civil wars and famines and political upheaval. In the later years, Jonathan's his health failed. He suffered multiple strokes that left him partially paralyzed, unable to speak clearly. Rosalind had to help him with everything. They stayed in China, continuing to serve until Jonathan's death in 1936. Their ministry spanned nearly half a century through an unimaginable hardship, but their faithfulness never wavered. This is the quote I'm getting to. Jonathan once said this, I have found that there are 3 stages in every great work for God. Number 1, it's impossible. I want to do it for you, God, but it's not possible. It's impossible. Number 2, it's difficult. And number 3, then it's done. Then it's done. And you breathe your last. Their lifelong steadfastness resulted in thousands coming to faith and countless churches being planted across China. A legacy that continues today. Your application today is this. Family, we live in a culture of quitters. There are quitters all around you. You might be married to one. People quit marriages when it gets hard. People quit jobs when they're not fulfilling. People quit church when they're offended. People quit faith when God doesn't answer on their timeline. There are quitters everywhere. But character doesn't quit. Character doesn't quit. Joseph models character through lifelong steadfastness. You show up to serve even when you're not feeling spiritual. You stay in your marriage even when romance fades. You continue to give even when your budget is tight. You remain faithful to your church even when it's not perfect. Hello, okay, you're a part of it, so it was perfect till you joined. Okay, now it's not perfect anymore. It's like, no, man, there's hypocrites everywhere. There's enough for everybody. Join the team, right? Like, there's no perfect church. But you keep your commitments long after the newness wears off. Your greatest impact won't come from dramatic moments, but from your faithful presence in ordinary ones. Like Joseph, you're building something eternal through your day-to-day faithfulness. My final question is, are you building for a lifetime of faithfulness, or are you just looking for the next spiritual high? Let me pray. God, I thank you for this morning. Lord, I thank you for this time. God, I just want to ask that, Lord, you would teach us through the life of Joseph. Today we've learned something so vitally important, that you picked a man, Lord, that didn't have hype, but he had character. He wasn't well known for his public speaking or his prowess. He wasn't in the political sphere. He didn't have money, but he had character. Oh God, I find it interesting that you use one that nobody knew, but you knew him and his character. God, I pray that you today would rise up individuals that have character, men of character, women of character. God, I pray that our character, Lord, would form and grow, and that, Lord, you would use us for your glory. And so, God, I thank you for my friends. I pray, Lord, that the root of the trees would grow deep, that they would not fear, Lord, when difficulty comes, but that, Lord, they would stand tall, trusting you. So, Lord, I just say thank you. Thank you for this morning. Thank you for this time. I pray your blessing over my friends now. In Jesus' name,